For those in the audience, please be advised that under the public open meeting laws, our council meeting tonight, even though it's a committee of the whole meeting, is being televised by Umer, so there will be audio and video recording. Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor Linehan. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seega. Here. Councilor Simonelli. Here. Councilor Spatafora. Here. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Murphy.
Here. Next order of business.
So we have a guest who's going to present for us tonight, but I think before we do that, Councilor McDonald, yes, please, sir.
Absolutely. Motion to suspend rules. 1 second, Councilor McDonald.
Second.
I make a motion to suspend council rules for the purpose of being able to hear this presentation at a committee of the whole.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend docket rules by Councilor McDonald and actually Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Seega.
No way. It was the photo finish.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Council rules have been suspended.
So we would invite you to.
Read the,
Representatives from Malden People's Budget will appear before the council to present the results from their 2023 survey.
I'm going to put the podium mic on for you, and if, first of all, welcome. Thank you for coming in to speak with us, and if you would kindly state your name and addresses for the records.
Joshua Bruckner. Oh, and address 18 Clifton Street.
And I'm Jessica Farrell, 66 Pine Street.
Thank you. So you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for giving us time to speak.
The mic, I don't know if you want to, it does adjust if it's more comfortable for both of you.
Okay. So we are here tonight to present the findings from the 2023 Malden People's Budget Survey. This is a grassroots, nonpartisan survey that was put together by the group, the Malden Police Alternatives and Accountability. We are a group that was founded in 2020 as part of the Black Lives Matter movement. This is the third time we have done this survey, and the goal is to survey as many residents of the city as possible and find out what their opinion is on the budget. We're doing this to try and create a more transparent, democratic process and to increase civic engagement beyond just voting on election years. We want to find out from as broad of selection of the city as possible what their opinion on how their tax dollars and how the city budget should look, so we can hopefully create a more inclusive society. So we raised awareness of the survey through email and social media. We reached out to about 70 different local organizations, clubs, businesses, religious groups, to ask them to let their members know about the survey and take it. The survey was done online, and it was open through February 27th through March 31st. Everyone should have a copy of the survey. We have paper ones up here if anyone in the audience needs one. It's also available online. But we'll quickly go over the results of the survey. We had 49 individual responses to the survey this year, and overall there was a majority of respondents said that they supported spending additional public money on the Public Works Department, on culture and recreation, and on various parts of human services. There's high levels of people saying they wanted to spend less on financial and public safety. That's a plurality of respondents, not a majority. And we also saw a high level of uncertainty or no opinion on spending for finance departments and, sorry, not for finance, for intergovernmental and debt services. Specifically, we saw 67% of respondents say they wanted to spend more on public works, 63% said they wanted to spend more on human services, and 57% said they wanted to spend more on culture and recreation. To give a visual to some of those points right here, we put this graph together. The blue bar indicates areas that people wanted to spend more on. The red is about the same. The yellow is spending less. So you can see that, again, public works, culture and recreation, and human services had a high level of respondents saying they wanted to increase the municipal budget on. Education as well, although I know that's much more complicated, and the mayor has already said that he intends to increase the education budget. Specifically within Public Works, there was a high level of support for spending more on parks, which I know is relevant given the discussion the Finance Committee was just having. There's also support for spending more on the library. Within education, there was high support for spending more specifically on teacher salaries, on special education, for school supplies, and for the athletics program. And for the categories where a plurality of respondents said they wanted to spend less, again, that's finance and public safety. We saw respondents say they wanted to spend less on parking enforcement and on police. And again, there was a lot of segments or sections of the budget like debt services and other finances where we saw people say they were not sure about how to respond, which based on this year and previous years says there's kind of like a lack of awareness or education for the general public about what exactly these services entail. Not so much that they think everything's fine there, but they maybe need more information to act and give a different answer. And I think I'm doing this one as well? Yes. So there's also high-level support for spending more on the teen center, as there was in 2022. And we also had a section where we talked about possibilities for Malden's future. So this was not things that are specifically in the budget, but either things that people have mentioned in this year or in previous years, things they would like to see the city act on, or that neighboring communities have put into their budget. So the categories we saw that had the highest levels of positive support, people saying they wanted to see the city put some money towards these ideas, were increased government transparency, 88%, non-emergency services outside of law enforcement to respond to different crises or issues in the city, 85%, more green spaces for the city, as like public gathering spaces and to deal with climate change issues, 83%, diverting law enforcement funds to social work to deal with nonviolent issues, 82%, and greater transparency in law enforcement, 82%.
So, I went too far, whoops. Okay, so we have been doing the survey since 2021, so we've noticed a few trends. There have been consistent support, as Josh mentioned, for spending more on education, human services, and culture and recreation throughout all of the surveys that we've done. So we do acknowledge that for the upcoming budget, the mayor has elected to increase the education budget by $9 million. That's great. That appears to line up with survey participants' desires for the past 3 years running, so thank you. Specifically, the Teen Center was consistently garnering high support, so we hope that that could be supported again this year. And then, we think that Malden residents seem to understand that running a city really requires significant funding, and they're really reticent to decrease any areas of the budget. They want to build in many areas. They want to see our government spending increase. So this kind of indicates a need to raise revenues for the city of Malden to allocate to many different areas and involve citizens and all of the ideas. And then as far as cutting costs, in 2021, residents indicated support for spending less on law enforcement and City Hall. In 2022, they said general government they would like to spend less on, and this year in 2023, we saw public safety, which was previously called law enforcement in our survey, so that was just about the same as 2021, and finance. And the only budget category to ever really receive a majority consensus rather than just a plurality to spend less in has been law enforcement. Today, we do have a few asks of the City Council. So first, please apply the results of the survey to the upcoming budget process. Thank you for considering this data. And then moving forward, we would really like any assistance that you can provide in helping us create just a more inclusive and actionable survey again in 2024. We'd like to continue this work. Our work would be enhanced and facilitated by greater collaboration from the beginning of the project with the City Council. And of course, we know that works both ways, so that's one of our goals too. We would also like assistance with distribution and promotion. So we had fewer translations this year, unfortunately. Digital communications have become far more decentralized year after year and more difficult to manage with many people on many different platforms. So we really need help with wider distribution of the survey and help getting people to fill it out. To really provide the broad data set that both the city and we want to see in this survey in the future. And then last but not least, we think that Malden should have a participatory budget process. We would be happy to explore that together with you and suggest some models if that's helpful. Many cities in Massachusetts have used participatory budgeting processes for their ARPA funds, so that's perhaps maybe some low-hanging fruit to start with. And ideally, we could move toward a participatory budgeting process for a significant portion of the city's finances. As far as our next steps, we want to use the survey results to apply to many other things, right? In addition to helping out with a budget this year, we can use those results for other things. So we would like to advise on priorities for city-sponsored budget educational sessions. We talked with some city officials about this during our process and thought it would be great to have some educational sessions to really educate the public on what these budget categories are. And the data points already to some really very clear areas that we could start with to start with that education. We want to create that participatory budget, and we will continue to advocate for that process, so we're happy, again, to advise on that. And then finally, we want to be more proactive about facilitating deeper engagement from City Council during future people's budget projects. So you will be hearing from us in the future, and hopefully earlier next year. So that's really all that we have for you today. Thank you so much for your time, and we are happy to take any questions that you have.
We already have lights on, so you will have some questions. So, Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to present tonight, and also for all the hard work that you do behind the scenes. I've come to a lot of your meetings, and the amount of work and detail and the trying to get people involved and providing the survey out to the community to try and help us do better with our finances is just so admirable, and I just want to thank you for that. I do know that one of the things you had struggled with was getting more people to fill it out, so I'm just here to say I will help even more than I did this time, maybe earlier, and try and get people to fill the survey out, because it's extremely helpful to know what people are thinking out there, and any help that you need putting together you know, the participatory budget, I'm up for. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor McDonald.
Joshua and Jess, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I'm glad we got this on the calendar. I have to express also my appreciation for the amount of work that goes into this project. I know, as many folks know, I was involved in starting this project before I was on City Council, and have stepped back since I've been a City Councilor. But I think it's so powerful to have people directly engaged in just understanding the decisions in front of us as a local government. And so I really appreciate your suggested ways forward. I'd be very interested and happy, as others might also, to think about how to do better educational sessions on like what drives the budget. You know, how much are union contracts that are negotiated over the course of years, how much do those drive the budget? What about state funding sources? How are we limited by local property tax? Because I agree with you that lots of folks would like to see us spend more. I think we'd like to see us spend more. And Malden has an especially tight budget, is something I've learned for a city of our size and our need. So I think that's well said. I wanted to ask you about participatory budgeting and like what you've seen others, just a word about what you've seen other cities use and how you could imagine that working in Malden.
So I can say I know that Somerville, what they've done, at least for their ARPA funding, is ask citizens or residents to put forward ideas within constrained of categories about how that money, I think it was $1 million, should be spent. Certain ideas were selected and people were able to vote on it, so we could certainly do something with that with ARPA funding. As for kind of expanding on that idea, I think opening the floor to residents of the city, asking them like kind of broader ideas that they would like to see in the budget, and then seeing people vote on that for what they think the best path forward would be. Just kind of anything that we can do to educate the public more. I know that is definitely a barrier, with especially, there's people, of course, want to see more and more spent, but as Councilor McDonald said, the budget is tight, so providing a bit of education to the people, and then saying, based on this information, how would you like to see such amount of money spent, or how would you like to see this part of the budget changed or spent on, would be useful. Everything done?
Yeah, I think the first step is to, figure out what those non-negotiables are that like can't be participatory because we all, like, people have to get paid, and that kind of thing, right? And then set that aside and move on from there. But there's a model in, Somerville and Medford also did some things around ARPA where they at least had a few community presentations or community events about it where people could come and say how they wanted the ARPA funds spent. So anything like that. I could see a much longer process where, you know, the city council is involved, the residents are involved, there's various steps, and there's open conversation, and then there's some closed conversation, and the mayor, you know, all of these pieces have to fit together, so I would love to work on a process. It would probably be a little bit complicated. It'd almost be a full year process, to be honest.
Well, 4 years is a long time.
No,
but
sorry, a
nonetheless-
full year,
Oh,
sorry.
full
Like,
year.
you know, you're
Full
working on
year.
your
I got you.
budget
Full year.
next year
Thank you.
starting, you know, as soon as
Like,
you
this is
pass the
two
budget.
elections
Wow.
I would love, I would love to talk with you all more about, like, well, where could we start? What could be, how could we try this? Because I do think Malden has such a participatory culture, and it would be great to help people, you know, put some real meaning into that. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. Hey, thank you for coming tonight. Great job you did. I know you're out there working hard. It's not easy, you know, getting in the trenches and talking with people and asking for different opinions. So, in that, I was just wondering, like, how many people participated in this process?
So this year we had 49 individual responses to the survey, which is fewer than we had the previous 2 years. As Jess said, it is kind of difficult, or it's getting harder to reach the number of people we'd like to with digital distribution. We did have flyers out for the end part of the survey. And one reason we would love the city's council's participation and assistance with this sort of process is we could have more resources and more official channels to reach out to people, whether that's through emails, through flyers, through phone calls, through message boards, kind of letting them know this is a way that you can become more involved in city government, in the process of doing this, become more involved other than just voting every 2 years. So we did get fewer responses than we wanted to. Our ultimate goal was always about, I think, 10% of the city population participating in this to kind of get really like the biggest selection and diverse level of participation we would like. So kind of having extra resources and time would certainly allow us to reach that goal.
Well, I just, you know, I just think it's a shame that only 49 people out of 70,000 people that we have in the city of Malden actually participated, and that's, I mean, you know, I'm working on similar programs now in my neighborhood, and it's, you know, it's about outreach, and it's a lot of work, and it, you know, we've had the ARPA funding money now for a couple of years, and I think the money, if I'm not mistaken, ends mid-2025. So for the last couple of years, there's already been programs being processed and already promised to folks that already kind of operate within the city already. And so, I mean, keep up the good work. Keep going out there and doing what you do. I really appreciate it because I know it's not easy going out there and doing the outreach work, and I commend you for it because it's not easy. But I wish more people would participate, and I would just think that maybe by the time you get that, 2025 will be here and the money will be gone. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. Joshua and Jess, thank you so much. I know we've talked a lot over the last few months trying to spread the word and get the outreach done on this, and I just want to appreciate all the work that you've done. I know it takes hours and hours and hours behind the scenes before the public even sees it. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think there's a lot that goes on that's below the surface before it even gets to the point where folks can interact with it. And I wanted to thank you for shouting out the ARPA work in Somerville because my team at my day job actually helped to build some of the modules for that. And it's something that I know they're all really proud of. But what we did learn is that the digital engagement is definitely down. So it's certainly not just you, which I'm sure you know that, but what we found is that you really needed to have a lot of multi-channel outreach to actually reach people, and that other in-person tabling at things going around is like very time and resource intensive. So I just want to recognize that it is, I think, part of like a larger outreach trend that digital is just not reaching as many people. I think a lot of us see that as counselors too with our digital outreach for events. And then a couple of the ideas that I was thinking as you were talking, I wonder if there's an opportunity to maybe partner with either a university or, gosh, I don't know what type of entity might have access to this, but something that could give you access to a more robust qualitative software to do the survey, because I think one of the pieces of feedback that I got from folks who really wanted to participate was that they started and it was either really overwhelming, they felt like they needed to go educate themselves a little bit better, beyond Councilor O'Malley's valuable video, that some of the stuff they didn't want to give uneducated answers, or they felt like it was just a lot of stuff that they didn't know and then felt silly that they didn't know, and so they quit the survey before finishing it. And one of the things that I've seen work really well in some of the survey work that we do, again, as part of my day job where we do a lot of engagement, is sort of branching people into pods where they want to dive deeper. So if somebody is coming to the survey because they're really interested in the arts and culture or the parks and recreation component, they can give high-level answers to everything else and then say yes or no. Do you want to really go into this in greater detail, and then sort of branch them off and give much more detailed data? Just something to think about, not telling you, you know, what to do or anything, but having grappled with this, especially when you have to have just like a huge amount of topics that you want feedback on, you'd hate to see people flame out because something loses their interest or they feel uneducated and then they self-remove. And then the last thing that I was going to say is I've been really impressed with how Cambridge has rolled out their participatory budgeting. I like that they actually give residents a chunk of real money to program, and that it's an exercise that they do bring, you know, their perspective back to their council and their city administration to share what they are hearing, but they actually get to decide how, like, I think $1 million gets spent. Obviously, we have a very different budget than what Cambridge has, so that's not an apples to apples comparison, but it would be an interesting thing to work towards, of actually having a process that had that really robust engagement and also gave a bucket of money that people could say, we're gonna decide, and it really gets implemented. And then you evaluate it a year later. If it worked out, great, and if not, then you've made that real-time decision of, okay, we made an allocation, the spend didn't have the result that we wanted, but we learned something, and we're not gonna fund that next year, or something along those lines. So again, kudos, just wanted to share some of those initial thoughts. I'm always committed to getting the word out for this on your behalf every year, and hope that we can just keep improving the process and get better and better feedback and engage more diverse members of the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan.
Thank you.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, thank you. I know I took the lead of doing a survey for Maplewood Square, and I know the challenge of really trying to get outreach, and you know, a challenge we translated into 6 languages, and it was really hard to get, you know, beyond that. So so learning more of how we really reach out in such a diverse community, and it's, you know, both diversity in languages and where people you know, find their information out. It's a real challenge. So it's something that we I've talked to Elena, our you know, language access coordinator, just trying to figure out how to do that as a city. So hopefully we'll learn more. And you know, I really appreciate you putting this information together, giving a sense of trends and that type of thing. And one of the things I just want to let everybody know is that as part of my opera work on the water and sewer stuff, I'm anticipating 2 weeks from now, May 30th, of reporting back on our storm drain assessments. And so that will be a way to talk about, we have various projects under that. And then I think depending upon where that goes, there may be some more opportunities in that area to do some more public outreach, in particular in terms of more green projects, in terms of some maybe stormwater detention and rain gardens and that type of thing. So that'll be the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee will have that report coming in a couple weeks, and then we'll go from there. So so maybe there will be some opportunity to follow up on some of the that as a way to see where people might want us to focus some of the ARPA funds that have been dedicated in that field. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you so much for your work on this and for your presentation. It's very helpful and enlightening. A couple of thoughts, and please receive this in the kindest way. So participatory budgeting is really an interesting thing. Actually, if I remember correctly, Neil Kinnan was the first person to propose participatory budgeting in Malden. So I'm sure he's smiling at home right now, something you all have in common. I think that it could really be useful. I think that there needs to be proper guardrails around that because you want to make sure that it's actually having the effect that you want it to have. So definitely something I would be interested in learning more about and kind of exploring. One of the things for me is really privacy and data security, particularly the demographic data that you're asking. Many people in our community are kind of victims of identity theft. So like, where is this data going is kind of really important, and making sure that that's transparent about, who's involved. And one of the reasons why is, early on, I did the video with Councilor McDonald prior to him being on the council. And, I do think it's really about trust, data security there, and who has access to the data. Knowing that this is being used in a way that really is informing how we budget is important. And making sure that the access to the raw data, if we get access to the raw data, that would be helpful. But really having that trust about where this data is being stored and who has access to it is going to be really important. And I'm wondering if maybe something like this now belongs in, like, we have, I believe, or we used to have a public engagement committee. I'm wondering if maybe this is something that needs to be formalized within the city. Not sacrificing any of the authenticity of it, but really making sure that it's accountable and we actually know what's going on. That could help with response rates. Just a thought. What are your thoughts? More city involvement, less city involvement?
No, I hear what you're saying about data security, and we did, I believe in the survey at the beginning, say that people's emails or information would not be shared, and the sections where they could give their demographic information was optional. Okay. But that's a very valid concern, and I think having a public engagement committee, if we were going to do something like this, have a participatory budget, or have other issues that we wanted residents of the city to weigh in on, would be a good way to formalize this, kind of get some real structure around it, rather than having our small team try and keep it running every year. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, because I mean, oh, sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say, my take with data security is just like, don't take the data if it's gonna be, it also, I've been thinking about whether we even wanna get that demographic data in the future. Like, what purpose does it actually serve, like, for the city? Is it really useful to the city? And if not, then we can avoid that whole conundrum.
And to Councilor Linehan's point, the less onerous a survey is, the more likely you're gonna get like full completion. Because I think I was one of those people that started it, and even I felt like I needed to inform myself in order to really answer it. So I do thank you for your hard work here, and I think that coming up with the People's Budget 2.0 is in the near future, and I look forward to working with you on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Seeing no other lights just from the chair, I want to thank you for coming in. As we all know, it's a tremendous amount of work that goes into something like this, just creating a survey and trying to get it out there. But the fact that you've continued it for 3 years and are looking at a fourth, kudos to you, because you haven't run away screaming. So that's a good sign. So I'm sure we'll see you back here next year, and certainly reach out to any of us if we can help in any way. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time, everyone.
Thank you.
Next order of business. Personal privilege. Councilor Winslow, we got some lights because we are on TV.
Okay.
Councilor Winslow.
So just a reminder, we are having Maplewood Fest from 12 to 4. Cross our fingers, the weather's a little iffy all of a sudden, but we're planning to go forward with that, so hope everybody come out. And then just, I did mention in the presentation there that I am working to schedule a committee, the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee, that is going to focus on the results of our storm drain assessment, so we can see citywide what the results of that investigation is and the recommendations from Hayner Swanson on what we should do. And then, so that's just something that we'll be doing, and that will also be on YouTube or whatever as well. It'll be video as well. Thank you, great.
Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to just throw a little shout out to the Malden Police Department. We started our community policing down in the Bowden Street area of my neighborhood, and I just want to say that it's actually really working out well for just starting getting off the ground. And I want to thank the mayor's office and Wind Development. We've been in some roundtable discussions since last year on putting programs together down there for the youth and also for the tenants. So things are working out nice, but I just wanted to just give a little shout. There's more to come. We're working on fine-tuning the program as I'm speaking here. And, but I think I just wanted to shout out to the Malden Police Department for, coming in and working hand in hand with the neighborhood folks. So, thank you very much. Just want to say that.
Not yet. Sorry, Councilor Seeker. Councilor Seeker,
Sound like me
did you
now.
want Saturday? No? Okay. Then, just from the chair, I just wanted to, you've all received this letter, but I just wanted to read this into the, well, it's not reading into the record, but this is a letter that we all received from Mayor Gary Christensen today on May 16th. As you may know, Attorney McNaught has had to take a leave of absence from duties as a city solicitor. Over the past few days, Councilor Murphy and I have spoken with Attorney McNaught, as well as the legal department staff, to discuss the needs of the department in the short term. Our legal office is a very busy one with many ongoing matters before them, and it is important that we have someone in place leading the department until Attorney McNaught is able to return. Therefore, I'm appointing Alicia McNeil to serve as acting city solicitor effective tomorrow, Wednesday, March 17th. Attorney McNeil has over 27 years of legal experience in a variety of areas, including municipal law, civil litigation, and criminal defense. She is also the president-elect for the Lawrence Bar Association, on the board of directors for the Massachusetts Association for Criminal Defense Lawyers, and a member of various national and local bar associations. In addition, she has spent the last 2 years with our legal department as assistant city solicitor. She is well respected in the legal department and has built strong relationships with other city leaders. I am confident that she will be able to lead the department in Attorney McNaught's absence. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. So I just wanted, for the record, to let folks know that that was happening. I know you all received it. I'm assuming you saw your emails, but everyone's busy, so you might not have, and wanted the general public to know that we have an interim city solicitor. So, thank you. With that, Councilor McDonald, I will take your motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.